Good evening and welcome to another quick episode of My Fiber Fun. As you can see, I have on my Eclipse shirt from last year. So in commemoration of today, I haven't even begun to watch the Eclipse videos yet today because I've been kind of busy all day today. I had to go pick up my medication and so I'm just now really getting settled in from that. And then I had to cook. And so, and then I need to be cleaning up. Then I filmed a video for my other channel. But, oh, and another thing, I decided to stop into the liquidation store in Auburn Hills. I will upload that video. It's a shorter video, probably about 7 minutes. So basically, that store, they're tearing it down. They're selling the fixtures and everything in there. Most of the yarn is gone. Everything is just about cleared out. They have boxes everywhere. They're loading up in there. So I know they're going to be closed by the end of this month, for sure, by May. They're loading stuff up. And I think that what they're doing is stocking. They're using what little stock they have left for the other stores. Their discounts aren't as cheap at all. The highest I saw in there was 50%. Most stuff is still 20 to 25%. That's basically it in there, and they're not going any lower. I saw 3 workers, which was kind of shocking. The whole sewing section, you know, where the sewing people be, that service machines and stuff, the counter, all that's gone. Basically, all I saw left basically was kind of like tulle, and they had a few cotton prints and stuff like that they look like they're about to pack up. And that was only 20% off, and then the tulle was only 50% off at this location, not 60 like at the other location. So I think what they're going to be doing is shipping the stuff from this store over to the White Lake location, or probably some of the Detroit area locations, whoever they're still stocking up. I truly believe that. So I won't be going back in there, but I did find, and on the video you'll see, I was going in to look for stamps for the ceramic class that I'll probably be taking with my sister. And so there were very few, but I was able to get about 7 stamps, and they had various things. One had a yarn with the knitting needle or crochet needle sticking out. That was one small stamp that I would like. I could make a yarn bowl with that. What was the others? It was a few garden stuff, you know, like plants, you know, flowers, that type of thing. And I can't remember everything, but altogether I bought like 7, and they were $1. They were like $1.49 a piece. So that's not too bad. So I spent about, I want to say $10, but it might have been a little more. So $1.50 and $1.50 is 3. So 2 of them were $3. 3. Then for 4, that's 6. 5, 6, that's 9. No, I did spend 10. I spent like $10.49 or $10.50, and that included the taxes. So that's not too bad for that. So I am going to be trekking over to White Lake probably tomorrow, because I need to run to get some yeast for some fertilizer, and I can stop at that Walmart to get that. And so I'll probably stop at the other Joann to see if they have stamps, but I'm not going to do it if I find some online. eBay may have them, or they may have the full sets, which is what I'm looking for anyway. So I'm going to check eBay, Etsy, you know, those sites first to see what the prices are. And so I may not even go to the liquidation store for that at all. And so, hey, I may not be going back, because there's really nothing I need there. Nothing other than those stamps. So if I can find those stamps online at a cheap rate, you know, in the $20 range, then I'll do that. And I'll probably have a better choice of selections. Okay, so why I am on, other than that reason, and I will upload that video. If not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. I will upload that video of the liquidation store. But why, the main reason why I came on was to tell you it was actually a story time that I had planned on sharing about, remember I was telling you about the 102-year-old, well, he was 101 when I met him, that I met when I was in college in Oklahoma. Well, there's another special individual that I met and got to know while I was in college in Oklahoma. And unfortunately, he just passed away on Sunday. I knew that he was sick, but I didn't know that he was this close to passing away. And his name is, we called him Butch. And he was famous on the campus of Langston University, which is a historical Black university there in Langston, Oklahoma. He was very famous. He had been there since 1961. There were rumors about him and different things. They said that he got hurt while hazing because he was different. He basically, he was an autistic savant, musically. He was a musical autistic savant, but he was a savant in every other area. He was just different, and it's hard to explain. He had very, I would say, very high functioning autism, HFA, which is what we call it. And actually, I'm diagnosed with that. I was diagnosed in my 40s. And so my superpower, because everybody has a superpower, my superpower I mentioned before are the earthquakes. I get a funny feeling and sensation in my body that lets me know an earthquake is going to strike. And I always send out the warning to people, and usually within, the closest one I've ever done was 2 hours. An earthquake hit in Alaska, a big one. That last big one that they had back in 2018 or 19, I called it 2 hours before it hit. So I'm like the animals. I feel it before it happens. Sometimes I'll dream it. Sometimes I'll get the funny feeling. And then sometimes it'll feel as if an earthquake is hit. And I'll tell people, did y'all feel the ground rumbling? And then no. And then all of a sudden within a day, a big earthquake will hit. So anyway, so that's my superpower, okay? But anyway, Butch, on the other hand, he was technically a musical savant. He had a natural talent. He could play any instrument that you put in his hand or before him, any instruments you've never heard of. He could probably play the pots and pans, okay? He could play everything, and he was a musical encyclopedia. He had a photographic memory. He had this huge record and album collection, and he always dreamed of being in a big band and stuff. But what happened was he had came to Langston University in 1961, and he never left. He got an apartment there, and everyone knew he was different, so he just was allowed to remain there. He paid rent. He worked there. He taught. Sometimes he would teach music. The music instructor and band leader would have him to come in to teach some of the classes. And although he was different and everything, and to hear him talk, well, this is the treat that you guys are going to get, because I'm trying to explain about Butch, but I really wasn't enough into his world to really give a deep down dive in story about him. But based on our friendship, we talked. I worked on campus when I was there. I was a dispatcher while I was there. I had to go through all that training to be a 911 dispatcher there in that town. And I had to go all the way to Oklahoma City for the training and everything. So I worked as a dispatcher for the first year that I was there. And then I started doing something else. I can't remember, but Butch and I, we crossed paths, plus the apartments that I lived in on campus, because I was 38 when I got there. I was in the dorm for 1 semester. I had to be initiated, of course. And then after that, they gave me an apartment. Enough of that, okay? And then all the dorm kids would come to my apartment. Oh, I'm going to tell that story. So let me stop right there, because I am going to tell about my college experience at the age of 38. That's when I went, or 36 rather. I went at 36. Anyway, that's a long story. But anyway, Butch, we ended up becoming very good friends. And we would talk all the time, and that was, it was just great. He was an interesting person, and people say that about me too, because in my case, I don't go around, I will mention the FHA or the HFA, high functioning. Okay, I'll mention that when I feel it's necessary, but I don't talk about it often. I just say I'm me. I'm just me. So People either hate me or they love me. It's just that simple. But, we're just different. We're different, okay? And hey, that's just what it is. And then in school, in college, I maintained, I started out, my first GPA was 3.5, and I wanted to prove something because it was a lot of people who said, you'll never make it, you'll be back. I was actually told this. Someone said, you're not college material, face it. I mean, all kind of stuff. And this was before I was diagnosed with HFA. I always knew I was different, and everyone knew I was different. Some took advantage of the fact. And so that's why I stick to myself most of the time. But those who are accepting and whatnot, and I can pretty much discern who means me well and who doesn't. I won't go into all of that. Maybe I'll tell that story later. And I was like that from a child. That's why when I said I would tell the bully story, oh my goodness, that's when it was the worst. But as I got older, things got better because I was able to maneuver and stay away from those who wanted to, just take advantage of the fact that they zero in on something different about you, and they zero in and here they come. They're going to take some sort of advantage. Either it's going to be, in the way they treat you or something, or they think they can take advantage of you because of your kindness, that type of thing. So anyway, I'm going to leave that alone. But Butch was the same way, but he found his family there at Langston. I don't know of him even having family. It was never spoken of. I'm going to find out because I believe that his funeral services, I will find out in a couple of days what his arrangements. I know they're going to be holding it in the I.W. Young Auditorium because all of Oklahoma will be there. It was on the news. I was really shocked when I saw the news report yesterday. So I'm going to add a link to the news report of his passing, so you will know just how special he was and everything. And one of his good friends speaking of him and everything. I'm going to share that. That's a minute long. But someone at the college 5 years ago decided to do a documentary on Butch. I'm glad they came up with that idea because everyone knew him and everyone saw him. Everyone loved him. He was accepted. It was just beautiful. Anyone who crossed his path came across the most genuine, beautiful individual they could ever meet. And so basically, they're mourning. They're very upset. I was upset when I heard of his passing. I hadn't seen him since I was there 20 years ago, but I had seen of him. People, my friends that are still there, I would always ask about Butch, or they would let me know what was going on. I'll say, tell him I said hi. And he remembered everything. He had a photographic memory, so he knew exactly who I was. He knew who my uncle was and everything. And my uncle knew him, of course. And even my late mother got to meet him when she came to visit in Oklahoma. She stayed with me and she was able to meet Butch and everything. But yes, he was a musical savant. And more than that made him special. But I'm going to share the documentary. It's a 20-minute long documentary. I'm going to add the link, and I ask that you all watch it. And that will capture the very essence of Butch. His actual name was Hardin Butch Benjamin. That was his name. And he passed away on Sunday of natural causes in his sleep. And so you will get to meet him, see what his life was about, see the things that he did. He loved colorful suits. He would travel every year. He would travel to San Francisco on the West Coast, and then he would head to the East Coast and go to New York City. And he was able to buy these suits called Zoot suits. And they're more popular there where people are more eclectic and quirky and whatnot. And these suits were colorful, all different colors, and he would match them up. He dressed to the nines every single day of the week. He had his hat and his suit on. I don't care how hot it was or anything. The only time you saw him not in a suit was when he was working, and his job at the university was to keep the band area and the musical department clean. So he cleaned that. He made everything meticulous every day for the band members, and they really appreciated it. So you will get to meet Butch and capture the essence of him. I think everyone in this world should meet this individual. And so you all have the opportunity simply because someone took the time to film the documentary and post it on YouTube. And it has, I know it has hundreds and thousands of views. So you all can add to it if you're interested. I would ask that you watch it. I guarantee you're going to be touched by this individual. And he was a personal good friend of mine. Okay, so I'm going to let you go, and I will add the links for you, and I will talk to you later, and may God bless you all. Bye-bye.